it's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it tonight. It is Sunday and it is time for us to prepare for a great week, right? Prepare to jump in and do good, thrive in the midst of all this change. So glad to see you guys jumping on. As you jump on, hit that wow emoji so I know you're here and you can hear me. We've been having a little bit of technical difficulty. I want to make sure that everybody can hear what I'm saying and they can see me because yesterday we did a live and that was not the case. So I know if there are some interruptions in this video, I apologize. I think it's a system-wide thing with just networks in general. So I apologize in advance, but the audio should be strong. That's been the case anyway, what I've been experiencing so far. I love the wow emojis. Oh, and I can already see that this is having trouble buffering. So one of the things you can do if there's trouble buffering is hit the back button and just go back a little bit and it'll sort of catch itself up. But I am glad you're here. So glad you're here. And holy cow, for a podcast or a live stream called Thrive and Change, we've had plenty of it. I mean, I better know my stuff. I've been looking at everything that's going on around us. Holy cow. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. And I know it's a lot for you too. And here at the beginning of the broadcast, I would love, share with me what's been the biggest piece of change that you found challenging. What are you finding challenging in your life when it comes to change? Just a topic out there. I'll tell you, one of the things that I am really finding to be my biggest challenge in this time of change is my routine. I didn't realize how addicted I am to my routine and knowing what day it was based on what's happening. Anybody else like that? Give me a thumbs up if you've had any trouble with knowing what day it was, knowing what time it was, remembering what month it was, because I definitely am. I love seeing you guys jump on. Make sure you hit those emojis when you pop on so that I know you can hear me, because this broadcast live stream has not been predictable lately. So I want to make sure you can hear. Yeah, one of my challenges is calendar challenge. I don't always know what day it is. Have to look at something to say what time it is, what month, what week. Is it Monday? It's been crazy. How about you? Are you experiencing any challenges with your changes? Because if you put them there in the comments, we can talk about them. I can definitely address them on future episodes of Sunday Night Live. And it's my heart to serve you during this time of great change and crisis. It is a crisis, right? I'm a positive person, and I am positive that this is a crisis. Yeah. Was watching a fantastic leadership broadcast today by my mentor, John Maxwell. He has a Facebook page and he has a live event that's happening for the next 2 days now, and you could catch today's recording. Starts at noon. And he talked so much about what leadership looks like in times like these. And Sunday Night Live is all about self-leadership. He talked about how we can lead others well, but how many of you know there is a huge overlap on that? The way we lead ourselves is how we lead others. If we lead ourselves with grace, if we lead ourselves with compassion and empathy, we don't beat ourselves up for mistakes, right? But we look forward. What can we do? How can things be better? When we lead ourselves like that, we can lead others like that as well. So I'm all about leading ourselves with empathy and compassion and also awareness. And that's why we gather here on Sunday Night Live, is because we all want to be more aware of what's going on in there or what's going on in here. Because this is what's at the wheel, my friends. This is at the wheel. How many of you know people aren't rational? the first rule of thumb in a crisis or any time really is people are not rational. So we wish that they would, I'll start that over. We wish that people would be making their decisions with their brains, and instead they're making their decisions with their emotions. And hate to tell you, but we do that too. We do that too. So those emotions in the times of great change are really critical. They're really critical for us to be aware what emotion is in the driver's seat, what belief about what's going to happen next is driving my behavior. I was so reluctant to step into a grocery store that I was making excuses why I shouldn't go, and I needed to go. We needed food for our family. It was okay to go. It was within the guidelines if we kept social distance, and I had all the protocols in place, right? This is becoming sort of normal for us, isn't it? This idea of keeping a safe distance, 6 feet or more. Gosh, 2 weeks ago, I was hugging everybody I saw. And my husband came home from being gone the other day, and he hadn't gone anywhere scary, and he came over to give me a hug, and I stepped back. Already new habits getting formed around our new normal. And I was getting myself stuck in this spiral of fear. I didn't want to go to the grocery store. Why? Because I'd seen a bunch of images of shelves that were empty. I'd seen a bunch of images of people wanting things and they couldn't get them. I'd seen a bunch of posts on social media. Lesson to us all, social media in small doses when we are in the middle of a crisis. Just saying, it can really feed fear. If you're just new popping on, hit those emojis so I know you're here and you can hear me. If I don't see emojis, I might have to stop and relaunch. The feed's been terrible. Another symptom, I think, of the big change that we're going through. How many of you are on work from home? I know some of you have recently transferred your employees to all be able to work from home. Some of you, oh, I love the emojis. Thanks. I'm glad you can hear. Some of you are being sent home by your employer and trying to figure out how can I work from home. That's a lot of change there, a lot of change. And in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about the fear that goes along with those change, specifically how we can address it. Oh, it's good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. These changes that are going on, because they are unknown, they do inspire fear in us. And if you are experiencing fear in the midst of all this change, I want you to know you are normal and it is okay. It is normal. A large part of that is biology, right? I'm seeing the thumbs up. A large part of it is biology. Our brains are wired to say, hey, wait a minute. I haven't recognized that before. I don't know what's going on. I need to step back. I need to take a step back before I do anything. And fear takes over. It tries to protect us. When we're aware of that fear that comes with these changes, when we're aware of it, we can more easily deal with it. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you tonight just simple steps, but they are going to change where you're at. When you start using these simple steps, you are going to start coming out of fear and you're going to start moving forward toward something. You're going to be moving towards something instead of being in this mass of confusion and I want it to be like it was yesterday. We're not going that way. We've got to look forward. So I want to give you the tools that you need to deal with that change. I did end up going to the grocery store. My husband said, hey, let's take a look at this. What could we do so that it wouldn't be so scary? And we decided what time we would go. And I'm giving you some clues as to how you get out of fear. So we decided when we were going to go. built something fun around it so that it wouldn't just be us going on an errand. We'd be able to take a drive, maybe get some breakfast from the drive-through, do something like that. And so I was able to get out of that place of fear that was preventing me from doing something that I needed to do. And I was able to get past it and then start rolling again. How many of you have experienced that kind of frozen reaction when fear hits you, right? It's the fight or flight or freeze when something unknown happens to us. So I get frozen. Some of you might get frozen too. I see the thumbs up. Yeah, I feel ya. So it is so great to be able to join together with all of you and know we're not alone. Everybody's experienced this same kind of upheaval, and we are going to come up with some ways that we can move forward and get past it. All right, so I'm so glad you're here. Let me see. If you have not requested to be part of the group of Sunday Night Live, now would be a great time to do that. Tonight, I'll post the link after we're done with the broadcast. You can just click that button and join us in the Sunday Night Live page, which is all about building a community around these Thrive and Change principles that we know work. They don't work in a vacuum. Everything we do gets amplified when we do it in community. And we have more reason to apply principles when we're doing it in community. We have more accountability for people who join with us that will say, yes, you can do it, and support each other. This is something that we're really experiencing in Livestream Leadership, the monthly or the weekly leadership mastermind that we do on Saturday mornings. It has been amazing, the unity that's been there and support. I want that. I want that for me so that I can grow with others and not just grow in a vacuum. Okay, so let's talk about fear and being stuck in fear. Fear is normal, right? Fear is normal. It's part of our biology. Some of our fear is because of our background. So our biology drives our fears sometimes. Something unknown happens and it happens suddenly, or we see it from afar off, but we perceive it as being big. And so this big thing that we've labeled as a huge change. I love the emojis. I'm glad you're here. We label something from afar off as a big change. And so big scares us, right? Now, bam, fear pops up. And what happens when fear pops up? All of our creativity gets cut off. When fear takes over, all of our problem-solving skills fall by the wayside. We're in fear. Fear is such a tyrant. It allows no space for anything but itself. When fear is in charge, fear is in charge. It is large and in charge. So we have to come up with ways to get fear out of the driver's seat, because fear will tell us a bunch of stories that are not true. And we get to choose. We get to choose if we believe fear or not. So the first thing, well, it's the only thing. We could maybe cut it off here if you want, but I think it'd help us all to explore just a little more. The first thing that you need to know about fear is fear dissipates when we take action. Fear dissipates when we take action. We take action, even a little action, and fear starts to flee. That frozen feeling that just traps us and traps us and traps us. I noticed earlier this week that I felt like I was walking all hunched over. Have you guys felt the effects of fear in your body? I just felt like I was just trying to protect everything. Even when I wake up in the morning, I feel so protective, like I'm so tight and tense because I've been trying to protect myself in my sleep. Stretching that out, right? Taking an action. I'm moving. I'm not stuck. I'm not trapped. I'm stretching. An action, and it helps the fear to go away. Taking the deep breath helps the fear to go away. These are practical things that address the biology of fear as it's trying to take us over. Taking those deep breaths. stretching and opening ourselves up set the tone for us to take other action. So we can physically do something. We need to act. Take action. Even if it's a small one. Make a plan. Take a step. But don't stand there. Look forward to that thing that you know you want. You want to be filled with peace. You want to have a more organized week. You want to have a home office set up. You want to have connections with your clients that you haven't been able to talk to in almost 2 weeks. Whatever that thing is, take a step toward it. And then assess. So these are the steps we're talking about of how to get out of fear. You take an action, and then you assess the result. What happened? What happened when I got out of my house and got into the car to go to the grocery store? I checked. I was still apprehensive. It's all right. Nothing terrible happened. I can always turn around if it gets bad. It's really true. It's true. Take a step, a small step. What step do you need to take to get out of the fear that you're in? That thing that you are afraid is going to happen. That thing that you're afraid of doing. In the midst of all this chaos with a pandemic around us, this applies no matter if there's a pandemic or not, right? What action do you need to take to get out of fear? And then assess the result. Make an adjustment, and then repeat the process. Take an action, assess the result, adjust, and repeat the process. Sometimes it's not just fear that keeps us frozen. It doesn't matter what's got us locked up. If we take an action, assess what happened, what's the result, make the adjustment, and then repeat the process, we will be able to continue to move forward. Even if we're not making leaps and bounds, we are taking meaningful steps toward action, right? Meaningful steps in the right direction. Moving is all that matters. You don't have to be moving fast, my friend. There's a lot going on. You don't necessarily want to be moving fast. You can take one small action, assess the result, make the adjustment, and take another one. If your business is in chaos, and many of our businesses are in chaos, take a small step toward making it better, reaching out to clients, making a connection, putting that post out there on Facebook, whatever it is, take a step. If you've been frozen in fear and disappointment because people have canceled, because people aren't coming into your showroom, because people don't come to your restaurant, allow yourself to think, what if I did this? A small action, something different. What if I did that? I don't know what will happen. You don't. You don't know until you try. Take a small action, get the result, assess it, and then adjust your behavior. Pretty soon, you're getting some momentum going. And that momentum really, really dissipates fear. It really does. Folks, if it's not just biology that is causing you fear, maybe it's your background causing you fear. My rational brain knew that there was no risk to going to the grocery store and seeing those empty shelves. If nothing terrible happens to me, if I rationally, right, if I go to the grocery store and see empty shelves. But I'll tell you what it triggered was my background. And in my background, there were times, plenty of times, when there was no food on our shelves. I mean, no food on our shelves. I had to dig change out of the couch cushions to walk a mile to the party store to buy a little tiny box of Frosted Flakes for my 5 brothers and sisters. We had no food. That was what was at work in me. It wasn't that my brain didn't understand that it didn't matter. I could just try another grocery store. Oh, it was bigger than that. It was so much bigger than that. But once I became aware, what is it that's in my way? Why am I so afraid? And I became aware, oh, I see. Yeah, I get it now. And I could treat myself in the midst of all this change with grace and empathy. Grace and empathy. I realized, wow, Shannon, no wonder you're worried about that. No wonder you're worried about that. That makes sense. Even rationally, it makes sense. And I was able then to take an action. Take an action. And then I got a result. And folks, I made some adjustments. I went back to the grocery store at a different time with a different action plan. And it was much smoother, much quicker, and it was much less upheaval for me than the first time. You can do this with any fear, any fear. I want to encourage you of this one thing also. Not just you taking action to get rid of fear. How about you taking action with someone else? Who is in your circle that helps you take meaningful action in the face of fear? This is outside of the pandemic. This is any time in your life. Who is with you? Who is with you saying, let's talk about this fear. What do you want to accomplish? What do you know to be true? What are you aware of? These are coaching questions, people. These are things coaches ask you. Who are you looking to? What voice are you listening to help you to move out of fear? Because it matters who you listen to. It really does. I am not saying that I am the answer to your being stuck. I am not saying that I am the answer to you having lost your job and you don't know where to go. I'm not saying that I have to be the one to join arms with you. But you cannot do it alone. You need somebody. I needed my husband. I needed Ken to go with me to the grocery store, say, let's do it together. It'll be fine. And it was fine. Irrational child Shannon, who was so afraid to see those empty shelves, found out that there were a lot of shelves that had plenty of food. And that's the stuff we bought. I needed somebody. You need somebody. This is a great place for you to have somebody, to listen to people who are wise, who are not going to be caving into fear, who have wisdom. We can help each other. And that's why I want to encourage you to join the Sunday Night Live group, because that's the kind of environment that we're creating there, so that it's a safe place for us to go to listen to voices that aren't going to feed the fear, but they're going to feed the faith. It really is simple. It's not always easy, but I promise you, when you take the first step, you take action, fear starts to go away. It's called the terror barrier. It's not a physical curtain or a physical brick wall, but sometimes inside of us, it looks like a brick wall, and we think, I can never get past that. Not true. You can. You absolutely can. You just can't always do it alone. We need help. We need people around us that speak truth, that tell us, you can do it. You've got what you need. You don't have to be afraid. You can bust the fear away, but you have to take action. And then once you've taken action, assess it. Did it work? How was that? Make an adjustment. And then do it again. You take action, you assess your result, and then you adjust. And you do it again. That process keeps us moving forward. You guys are awesome. I'm going to take a look here just to see what kind of we've got coming in. So, people are saying they can hear, which is good. Sylvia loves John Maxwell. Carol, their church went live today and had service for the first time. Wow. So that was scary, but you took action, right? Awesome. Oh, Joe has a great thought here. Fear is the light curtain that hides success. Ooh, right. It looks like a brick wall. It's not. It's the light curtain that hides success. I love that. Simply pull back the curtain and move forward. Hi, Joe. I love that. Thank you. Really good. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you leaning in these chaotic times. Starting next week, we are going to talk a lot about the path forward, because there's been some chaos now, and some of you might be familiar with some of the steps, the phases of change. If you don't, denial is one, and then we go into resistance. Denial, that's not happening. I think they're exaggerating. That's not going on. Sound familiar? Then there's resistance. Yeah, well, I don't care what they say. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's the big deal. I'm not going to do that. Sound familiar? Then we get to acceptance. Well, I'm doing that. And then we get to transformation. So next week, we're going to start looking at the transformation piece, because it's not too early to start designing what do we want our life to look like on the other side of this upheaval, because none of us are going to be the way we were. Our jobs, our businesses, our families, our kids, school, travel, none of it is going to look the same when we get on the other side of this virus as it did before it started. And so now is the time for us to start saying, how do I want to transform? What do I want this to be for me? Because if we don't start making the plan, somebody else's plan takes over. And they don't know what I want. They don't have any idea what's best for me. So next week, we're going to start the journey out, people. We are going to start talking about how do we start creating the life we want. Because this big reset that the world has just had is really a great opportunity for us to make our life the way we want it. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. I am so glad you're here. Take care. I love you all. Bye-bye.